interview and after job interview and still have not been able to secure an employment opportunity? This happens very often, but I have something special for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you three mistakes, common mistakes that people make, especially leaders, in the interviewing process that will absolutely cost you the job offer. Now, if this sounds like something that you would like to be able to master and avoid these mistakes, then you absolutely want to watch this video until the very end, because I'm going to share with you the worst mistake that people don't talk about as the last mistake. So you want to watch this video until the end. I want to know from you, if you have ever went through a job interview process and you have not been able to secure an opportunity, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to provide you with some guidance, or reach out to me for a strategy session. It is in the description below. It's an opportunity for us to have a very brief conversation in terms of where you are and where you would like to be, particularly if you're a woman in leadership. We can have a discussion to help you go to that next level in your career, especially as it relates to how you are communicating at a higher level. Many people think that interviews are very complicated and hard, but if you're able to master these three mistakes and avoid them, you will set yourself up for success and be more of a presentable candidate to secure a job offer. Now, I offer support to my audience, and my audience consists of specifically my target, which is women in leadership, but I also have men in leadership as well that are a part of my audience now also. And I want to tell you that I can provide you with some insight and some support in terms of helping you prepare for your interview. So if it's something that you want to do better in, then reach out for that one-on-one customized support so you can secure your next employment opportunity. Now, if you're watching this portion of the video, you are watching the replay. And so thank you so much for being here. There's typically a portion of the video where the live attendees will join. So give me just a few moments to say hello to everyone, and we will go right into the three mistakes. So one of the reasons why people struggle in job interviews is because we are not really told or taught how to do it. And job interviews, many people think that it is very, very complicated. And it's not as complicated as you think, as long as you get this one strategy in your mind. And that strategy is how you communicate in your job interview will either help you or hurt you to get an employment opportunity. So I want to say hello, welcome, all of you who have joined. If you want to avoid making these three mistakes that will absolutely cost you a job opportunity, then you want to watch this video until the very end, friends. Feel free to ask me any questions as it relates to job interviews. I have been a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director for over 20 years. So I'm going to share with you over 20 years worth of experience looking at hundreds of resumes, doing hundreds of interviews to help you go to that next level on your journey. So I want to say hello to Jacob. Hello, Jacob Grigo. I believe if I said your name correctly, I hope so. I hope you're doing well today. Let me know where you all are joining from in the big, beautiful world today. And I'm going to work really quickly because I have a question for all of you as it relates to interviewing. Let me type it in really quickly. Give me just a moment. This is a feature that YouTube has on their lives, and I want to make sure that I am using it to help you all go to that next level and make our lives a bit more engaging. So what happens with the question, and I am going to sometimes, so if you see the question now is on top of my head, for some reason on YouTube, hopefully they'll get this fixed, it takes me a few times to move it off my head. So I will continue to keep trying to move it off my head while I'm waiting. Let's see if I can move it now. Let me see who has joined us. I will get this off my head in a few minutes. I'll try again. All right, Beth Zervos. Hello, Beth. How you doing today? TikTok sounds for you. Hello, welcome. Hope you all are doing fantastic well. This is a place, if you have ever struggled in your interviews, Maybe you're going through interviews right now and you have not been able to secure an employment opportunity. I'm going to share with you 3 mistakes that you absolutely want to avoid in your interviewing process. Now, I have a question for you that is on top of my head right now. As soon as YouTube will allow me to move it off my head, then I will move it. But what are your biggest interview challenges? What are they? Put them in the comments below. I would be happy to provide you with some insight as I'm going into the 3 mistakes that people make that will cost them their job interview. Now, I'm going to try to see if I can move this again, and let's see. Okay, it's not moving, so I'll just wait. I'll wait for it to settle and move. But the first mistake that people make when they are interviewing for a job position and they are not able to secure the employment opportunity is one of the most famous mistakes that people make all of the time. Are you ready? And that mistake is to ramble too much. Many times in an interview setting, let me bring myself down. Hold on just a moment. Okay. Many times in an interview setting, what happens is that the person that is interviewing you is asking you questions. And oftentimes we're not really quite sure in terms of what we specifically want to say for the interview. And instead of us being articulate or sounding articulate in our interview, what happens is we just start to ramble and we just start to say what we feel like we need to say. But then when we do that, it comes across as us over explaining, and we talk and we're saying a little bit too much. So what I would recommend for you to do to prevent this from happening to you is the following. So when you're trying to prepare your responses, because this is one of the biggest challenges that my audience faces all the time as it relates to interviewing and etc., is that they tend to feel like they're not speaking in a very concise way. And so you want to go and speak in a concise way, but how do you do that? A lot of times you'll see a lot of interviews talk about that. Sorry, I'm trying to move this question. For some reason, it's not moving today. I don't know why. But I'm going to delete it for now so you can actually see me. So hopefully I'll try again in a little bit. But one of the reasons why people struggle with this is in terms of speaking concisely is because they just simply don't know what to say. So to prevent yourself from rambling, think about your stories. What are the scenarios? What are your accomplishments? What are you most proud of as it relates to your career that you would like to talk about in your interview? This will help you to at least identify what it is specifically you want to talk about and what you do not want to talk about in your specific interview. And that will help you be able to not ramble as much. Many times when people ramble, it starts to cause the interviewer to lose interest in what you're saying, and they will literally stop listening to you. Even though it may appear as if they're listening to you, they may just completely stop listening to you. And you don't want to be in that category of people. This is why this is a mistake that I want you to avoid making. And the best way for you to avoid making this mistake is by trying to define your stories. Really think about the most notable, the most important, maybe positions, projects, initiatives that you have worked on that are relative to the job, and have those as being your stories, and just keep those as your stories. Don't go into extra detail, just keep those as your stories, and that will help you to prevent yourself from rambling or over explaining. Now, the second mistake that will cost you a job offer is the following. This mistake is to not observe the interviewer's nonverbal gestures or their body language. Why is this a mistake? You will be able to modify your tone of voice, adjust your responses, talk in a different way if you just take some time to really be very observant in terms of what the interviewer is saying or what they are not saying. Many times, as we talked about in the first mistake, when people ramble and they talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, they are not paying attention to what the interviewer is doing. I have found that when you may be in the category, if you happen to be rambling and talking too much, the interviewer will let you know that they're starting to get tired of what you are saying. And so some examples, some very important aspects that you want to monitor and watch out for is, what is the interviewer doing? Are they focused directly at you and looking at you? Or are they starting to look away? Are they starting to look at their watch? Or are they starting to write some notes? You are going to see this happen. So if you notice that your interviewer is starting to shift gait a little bit, or maybe they're starting to like move their hands, they're getting tired. They're getting tired of what is being said, and you may want to adjust your message or go in a different direction. Now, before I go into this next strategy or next mistake people make, I do want to mention about observation, how it's important. Even if your interviewer is not feeling, or you're not noticing that they are tired of what you're saying, maybe you're talking too much and they're not tired of what you're saying, it's not that. You're being concise, but if you can pay attention to their body language, it will tell you if they are interested in a topic or not interested. So let's say you talk about a specific topic and they become very interested. You may see their eyebrows raise up, showing a sign of interest. Or perhaps you may smile, they may smile and say, oh, wow, this is great. We're really looking for someone to do something like this. These are cues that they are interested in what you have to say. Therefore, if they are interested in what you have to say, then you want to talk about those topics specifically. So you can use the power of observation to help you be able to determine, maybe I should stop talking based on how they're responding, or perhaps you can take a look and say, maybe I should say more about this topic because they really, really like what I said. So keep those in mind. Observation is really important. This is the reason why I say this is the number 2 mistake, because people do not observe their interviewers most of the time. They're just scared to be in an interview and they're just nervous and they feel a little overwhelmed, so they don't take that time to observe. Now, if you found yourself in this setting where you are struggling with your interviews, you're not quite sure what to say, you do not have to live life this way. You do not have to live life feeling frustrated, feeling overwhelmed, or in a really tough financial situation because you are not being able to secure a job opportunity. This is why you reach out to me. Feel free to contact me for a strategy session in the description below, and I will be able to provide you with some insights in terms of where you are, where you want to be, and provide you with some practice interview preparation to get you to that next level and give you feedback from a C-suite executive, from a director that has done hundreds of interviews at this point, to really make you be that candidate that stands out from everybody else. Now, I want to say hello, Vinny Philly in the chat. I appreciate your comment about saying that I'm gorgeous. I appreciate that, and appreciate you being here today. Let me know where you all are joining from in the big, beautiful world today. And I want to know from you, from those of you who are here, please let me know, what are some of your biggest challenges as it relates to the interview process? I had this as a Q&A on my live, but for some reason, for those of you who are just watching, the Q&A just kept staying at the top of my head for some reason. And it would not allow me to move it today. Normally I'm able to move it, but I'm trying to use a bit more features on YouTube, especially as it relates to live streaming. Since I'm on their live streamer research panel, I want to make sure that I'm doing, using the platform as much as I can. Now I'm going to go into the very third, and as I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, the third mistake that will cost you a job offer is one of the mistakes that people do not talk about often when they're talking about job interviews and interviewing for positions and etc. This is what I talk about on my channel. I talk about real strategies, real techniques, real scenarios that oftentimes may not be discussed on YouTube, because there's some individuals who may not have been in those situations where they are interviewing, they're hiring people, they're talking to you from their perspective of them doing well and maybe not having that very in-depth knowledge of really what happens. So the third mistake that people make that will cost you your job offer or job position is to not showcase your executive presence. So you might be wondering, okay, I know on your channel that you talk about executive presence. I talk about executive presence all the time. This is very, very important, and it's not important only in interviewing, but it's also important in your everyday conversations, especially as a woman in leadership or a man in leadership. You have to have this. Why? Why is this important in your interview specifically? That's what we're talking about today. If you sincerely want to be that candidate that stands out from everybody else, right? You stand out from everybody else. You have to showcase your executive presence, because majority of people, and I mean this, majority of people do not have an executive presence. Now, if you're wondering what is an executive presence, let me tell you what it is. There's a lot of different definitions as it relates to executive presence. There's one definition by an influencer, and I will not say the name, but the definition that she has for executive presence reads like something in an academic textbook. And it's probably, if you wrote it out, it's probably about that long. I think that's too long for a definition for executive presence. It's not that complicated. My very humble opinion, Dr. Jacinta's humble definition that I have made up of executive presence is the ability of someone to inspire and influence others. The end. That is the end of my definition of executive presence. Therefore, that inspire and influence doesn't always mean when you are in a boardroom, when you are in a high stakes situation or high pressure situation. It also means when you are in an interview as well. Now, because most people do not have an executive presence, this is why if you can showcase your executive presence, you will automatically stand out from everybody else. This is something that people really struggle with. And I want to know from you in the comments below, what are some challenges that you're facing in your interviewing process, or what are some challenges you're facing with your executive presence? Let me know in the comments below. But before I go more into why this third mistake, as I mentioned, is so important, let me say hello to who is in the chat. All right, so we have strxy.lixie. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Hope you're doing well today. And I do not know, they mentioned that I look like someone. I'm not sure who that person is, but I appreciate you for being here today. And if you have any questions as it relates to interviewing, let me know. All right, Frankie, hello. Welcome. Hope you're doing well today. I appreciate you being here. Let me know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions as it relates to the interview process or developing your executive presence, I appreciate Frankie's comment. Frankie says executive aura. Yes, so Frankie, incredibly important to have that executive aura even in an interview, because as I mentioned a few moments ago, right before you joined, majority of people do not have executive presence, or as Frankie says it, executive aura. They do not have it. They just do not. Why? Because we have not been trained how to do this as leaders, as professionals. It's something that unfortunately is left out in the textbooks that we may have went to school and learned about. Therefore, if you can be that person that has it, you will stand out from other candidates. There's many other candidates that apply for positions, and they may have your exact same qualifications. However, if you're the person that has executive presence or executive aura, and Frank, I actually like that term, by the way. I may borrow that from you if that's okay. You let me know if that's okay. But if you find yourself as they're comparing apples to apples, literally, you have these degrees, this person has these degrees. You have this level of experience or expertise, you have this level of expertise. If you have two different people that look the same on paper, somewhat, which one will they pick? Are they going to pick the person that's the average person, or are they going to pick the person that's a superstar? They're going to pick the person that's a superstar. And please, take this from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, as a manager, as a director. I've done hundreds of interviews. I've done hundreds of hirings. This is what we want. We do not want average individuals. We want those people that really do stand out. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have every single qualification that's listed on the job description. I'm not saying that, but you do need to be someone that is exceptional, that really stands out to an organization. Now, you may be wondering, well, what if I don't have all that? If you showcase and present yourself as that executive aura, as Frankie mentioned, you will stand out as that person who may be able to do a bit more for the organization than other people. Now, if you're wondering, this sounds great, and maybe in your interviews you haven't been showcasing your executive presence. maybe you need some help with it, then reach out to me for a strategy session in the description below. This is an opportunity for us to have a great conversation, to talk about where you are, and I'll give you some one-on-one customized support in terms of how to get you to that next level as a leader. I will help you absolutely do that. Now, Frankie said, leaves a good impression. Yes, so this is very, very important. Executive aura or executive presence, it is leaving a good impression. And this is something that a lot of my clients that I work with that are women in leadership really come to me and ask questions about, because they go on interviews, and it's just like a circle. It just keeps going around and around and around, but nothing is really landing for them. And they mentioned, well, how can I leave a good impression? Doing and avoiding mistake number 3, which is not showcasing your executive presence. So Frankie, thank you so much for bringing that up. Leaving a good impression is incredibly important, and I appreciate the heart emojis that were just sent. All right, Jude B, welcome. Jude B says, hey, I'm back. It's been a while. Yes, Jude B, it has been a while. Absolutely. So Jude B was in a live last week. And yes, so Jude B, I go live Tuesday through Friday on my YouTube channel here, unless there's something going on and I can't make it. Like tomorrow, I have an event that's going on in around about the time I normally would go live. So I'm not sure if I'll be here tomorrow. If I am, it'll be probably a very brief live, but if not, I'll be back on Thursday and Friday as normal. Now, Jude B said, how's the stream been? Very good. So we're talking about interviewing tips today. So we're talking about 3, and for those of you who are just joining, welcome. We're talking about 3 mistakes that will absolutely cost you a job offer, meaning that if you show these 3 mistakes, you have a very high chance of not getting a job. That's as simply as I can say it. And so for those of you who are just joining, I'm going to summarize those 3 mistakes for you very, very carefully, because I know you may not have time to watch the replay, but let me tell you, just so you know, and if you have questions about them or you have any questions as it relates to job interviews, this is your opportunity. Even if you're watching the replay, to put it in the comments below. I know people struggle with this. I know people struggle with job interviews, and I really want you to be that person that stands out from everybody else, that when they complete your interview, they say, wow, this is the person we want to hire. That's what I do. That's my expertise. I will help you communicate very, very well. Now, the first strategy, and before I go into it, the first mistake, okay, Jude B says, I will be back tomorrow, gotta go. Okay, all right, no problem, Jude B. I will see you tomorrow if I'm live. All right, so the 3 mistakes you want to avoid making that will cost you your job offer. The first, number 1, mistake is rambling. Rambling will cost you your job offer. I talked a little bit about that in the previous segment of our live. Make sure you're not rambling. There's ways for you not to ramble, and the best way for you to not ramble is to make sure that you are more concise with your stories and you know exactly what it is that you want to talk about. The second mistake that will absolutely cost you the job offer that you want to avoid trying to do is to not observe the interviewer's nonverbal gestures or body language. A lot of times in the interview, we are just so heavily focused on what is being said and what are we trying to say that we do not take that time to really see what is going on with the interviewer. They will let you know when they like a response. They will let you know if there's a response they don't like. They will let you know if you're talking too much. Just really pay very, very close attention to what is being said by the interviewer. And third and finally would be to not showcase your executive presence. This is a mistake that you do not want to make. If you make this mistake, I will tell you that you will not stand out as the candidate of choice. And if you're watching this video and you're subscribed to my channel, then you know this is not what I want for you. I want you to be that person that stands out from everybody else. And when they speak to you, they say, wow, we have truly hired a superstar and we're so excited to have you on board. So if you want to have this type of guidance, training, coaching to get you to that next level, then contact me for a strategy session in the description listed below. So I've talked about a few strategies, a few mistakes that people make. Now I want to hear from you. What are some of your biggest challenges that you are having in the interview process? What is it? What are some of the biggest challenges? Some of the challenges that I have noticed so far that people really do struggle with is conciseness. I hear this a lot with my clients that I work with. I work specifically with women in leadership, but I obviously put out a lot of content on leadership that is for women in leadership, men in leadership. Leadership transcends gender. Leadership is leadership, regardless if you're a man or a woman. But in terms of my audience I work with is typically women. But I see this a lot, that people really worry about what should they do in these particular situations to speak more concisely in an interview. And so this is probably the biggest mistake that people make. As I mentioned, the first one, you want to be able to speak in a very concise way because that showcases you as a person that stands out from everybody else. All right, so Keelan, hello, welcome back, Keelan. Hope you're doing fantastic today. Keelan says hi. I appreciate you saying hello. And if you have any questions as it relates to the interviewing process, what can you do to really be that exceptional person in an interview that stands out, that gets the job, then you want to make sure you do not make these 3 mistakes that I just talked about a moment ago. Now, Keelan says, it's me again. Yes, hello, Keelan. Glad you're here today. Welcome back. Appreciate you being here. And let me know if you have any questions as it relates to interviewing, really how to set yourself up for success for interviews, or any questions. Maybe you've had an interview that did not go as well as you like for it to go. Maybe you had a challenge and you had a question that just completely threw you off and you're not sure how you should have responded to it. Then let me know in the comments below. I will provide you with 20 years. Are you ready? Over 20 years worth of guidance in a short amount of time that will make you stand out from everybody else. Now, there are a couple of things that I would say to keep in mind when you're going through your interview process outside of these mistakes. So how you dress and how you speak is really very, very important in an interview. As Frankie mentioned earlier, you want to leave a very good impression. And the way you leave a good impression in an interview is by being your authentic self, but you have to be that very best version of yourself, or working toward that very best version of yourself. So what does that mean? So think about you a couple years from now. Maybe you have some goals that you're trying to accomplish. Maybe you have something personally, maybe some aspects financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be, that you are working towards, that you feel as if you were talking to your future self, that this is what your future self would be doing. Many of my clients, when I work with them in a one-on-one coaching setting, sometimes they may be struggling with certain things. Maybe they're going through a loss. Maybe they're going through just a big transition in their lives, and they're not really quite sure of, well, how do I present myself as that polished version? Well, this is what a one-on-one executive coaching session is for, is to help uncover what it is that might be holding you back from going to that next level. And when you're in the interview and you're trying to leave that lasting impression, you have to come in with a mindset that you, whatever your name is going in as the best version of yourself. So if I'm going into the interview, I'm going to present myself as the very best version of Dr. Jacinta. The best version of Dr. Jacinta is going to still be learning and still be growing, but there's certain aspects of myself that are already going to be at that higher level than what they would be normally. And so you want to bring that same level of confidence and that same level of energy in your interview, because it is extremely important for you to be able to showcase that, to show off that you are really the best candidate of choice in a specific interviewing situation. So there's a lot of great videos that I have here on my channel that specifically talk about that. Videos that will help you if you are working through the interview process. Think on Your Feet is one that has several views on my channel. There are a few videos I have here on my lives that specifically talk about executive presence. And there's a few videos here also. I have several videos here actually that talk a bit more about interviewing. What you should say in an interview, what you should not say in an interview, how to speak concisely in an interview. There's several interviewing videos that are lives that are here on my channel. So you have a lot of great free resources here to help you go to that next level in your interviewing skills, and not only in your interviewing skills, but how you are communicating as a leader. There's so much out there. There's a lot of great information there, and you can do it. You can absolutely be that candidate of choice. It just takes sometimes you receiving some guidance and just investing in your growth to get you there. I know I've worked with many of my clients that have struggled in interviews, and they are completely doing amazing in their interviewing now, even after us just doing one session together. Can you imagine that? Imagine yourself if you're on that particular circle. You're struggling with your job interviews, you're struggling with your job interviews, and you're struggling with your job interviews. How would your life change if you had one practice interview session that changed how you communicate, that helped you to land the job offer? How would it change? It would change a lot. And so that's what I do for my clients, my women in leadership specifically, is really help them to go to that next level in their careers, even after one session. One session, I will help you gain some clarity. Two sessions, you're going to feel very good. More than that, you're going to be at a whole nother level. So just reach out to me. I'm here to support you. The strategy session that I have in the comments below is just a brief call for us to have. And if after we have a call to see where you are, if I feel like I can support you or I would be the best fit for you, I will let you know. Or if I feel like I would not be, I will let you know that too. But having just a conversation is a great opportunity to really get a heightened sense of awareness of what you might be struggling with and how you could potentially invest in your support to go to that next level. So the strategy session that's in the description below is complimentary. So just reach out to me, schedule some time on my calendar, and let's just have a conversation about where you are and where you want to be. So I want to know from you, what are some of the challenges that you're facing in the interviewing process? If you're watching the replay, feel free to put the comments in there. You're also welcome to place some information as it relates to other topics you want to learn about. Maybe it's something specific in the interviewing process that you're struggling with and you're not quite sure of what it is specifically you want to do. Maybe there's something communication-wise, executive presence-wise. Maybe you feel like you're over-explaining. It could be so many things that I want you to start being able to really master, but I can't help you master them if you don't tell me. So let me know in the comments below, what do you want to learn about? I'm here really to support you all on your amazing journey. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video. As I mentioned, tomorrow I may be live. I have an event that's right during the time I normally would go live. So if I just so happen not to be live tomorrow, which is Wednesday, then just know I was tied up in the event and I couldn't break away. But you know me, I'm here. I'm committed to every single one of you that are subscribed to my channel or that are trying to just elevate yourself in terms of how you communicate. I'm committed to you. So I'm going to do the best that I can to try to be present if I can. If not, then you know I will be back on Thursday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video, and bye for now.